My fellow readers, is I, Dark Symphony 7 Simpson, with a new fan fiction reading. As always, link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of the video, and any future fan fictions you want me to read or review. So, the story I'm reading is Unveiled Concern by Midnight Ramblers, a Martin Mystery Team Galaxy crossover. Now, I am familiar with Martin Mystery to a point. I've seen a couple episodes, but I don't really remember what it's about. I have seen it. I've only heard of Team Galaxy, so I know they're made by the same group, or at least more or less the same group, but I don't know what Team Galaxy is about, and I cannot remember what Martin Mystery is about. So, when his son makes the stupidest decision to date, he must make a dreaded phone call. So let's... So I guess let's get started. He didn't like calling her, and he knew she disliked receiving his calls just as much. As much as he refrained from doing so unless absolutely necessary. It wasn't like she minded hearing about her son. In fact, every time she did it seemed to soften her impassive expression, mellow her biting tongue, and put a glow in her eyes. It was just that even after so many years since the divorce, there was still a considerable amount of bitterness between them. Of course, given the circumstances, there was also the fact that when she did receive a call, she always feared the worst. And this time, as much as he didn't want to, he would have to call her and give her the kind of news no parent should ever get. He would have to man up and present her with the possibility that he didn't even want to consider, with a possibility that he didn't think he could ever accept. Did you get a chick pregnant? Because a lot of guys regret that. Like, Mom, what? I got a chick pregnant. Well, whose fault is that then? Should have wore a condom. But Mom, no buts. Own up to it. Okay. Good. He sighed he sighed deeply and started the call. She answered quickly, her face displayed on his screen. She was as beautiful as ever, her face emotionless to everyone else but him as he recognized the concern swirling beneath the surface. What is it? She demanded, her voice not betraying a thing. He had hoped he could keep his calm too. I'm afraid I have some bad news. Yes, he could already tell he wasn't doing as good a job as she did. She widened her eyes slightly. What happened? Her voice even colder and more biting than before. How is he? I don't know. She looked ready to blow up, so he hastened to explain. He was on a mission. He was kidnapped. I have no idea where he went. What do you mean he was kidnapped? So much for not blowing up in his face. He expected as much. Where was he? Was he alone? What kind of... He decided to cut in before she started insulting his school again. He decided it was a good idea to use himself as bait. She quit her rambling, and the smallest trace of amusement and exasperation crossed her face. He honestly understood. Their son was a brave, reckless idiot. It was gone quickly, replaced by a bigger amount of concern. How long? Not very. He disappeared this morning, but I've had people looking for him and have gone out there myself, but no trace of him. He swallowed hard to keep his emotions in check, and he saw her breathing deeply in order to do the same. To do, not done. We'll keep looking, of course, but I thought you should know. Just in case. He couldn't voice that one. He didn't even want to let his mind go there. Thank you. She answered softly, but I trust that you will find him. She went on regaining the cold quality to her voice. He thought he could detect a bit of threatening edge to it. He felt like shaking his head, but not instead. Good. Call me as soon as you find out anything new. I will, he replied, and she promptly ended the call. He massaged his temples and his mind stayed straight to the bottle of scotch in his room. After his son was home, he got up and prepared to go out again looking for his son. Okay? He sighed in relief and leaned back in his chair. It felt like a huge weight had been lifted off his chest. He sat like that for a few moments before remembering that Olivia must have still been worrying like crazy. He barely started the call that it was answered. He could see the way she was studying his face and trying to see if it was good news or bad news that she was going to receive. We found him. She gave an audible sigh of relief, just like he had only a few minutes ago. But quickly she went cold again, concern taking over her features again. How is he? I have talked to him only briefly, but he seemed to be in good shape. He's on his way home. Then I'm going to get the full details of what happened. Good. It was said in a trembling exhale. Good. She repeated, her voice regaining her usual quality. A bit softer, though, as it usually got when her son was concerned. Have him call me back when he gets back. Of course, she closed the call again and he went back to his thoughts. He couldn't wait to have his son in front of him, to check for himself that he was as fine as he claimed to be. Okay, so far it's just Team Galaxy? That's what it looks like, because I don't know, it's been ages since I saw Martin Mystery, so I don't know. He was glad he had some time to get used to the idea of his son returning home to him. Otherwise, he might have just jumped up to grab him in a hug as soon as he saw them. As it was, he managed to restrain himself and keep hold of his emotions. Brent and Josh were both about to leave his office when he asked his son to stay behind. He heard him mutter, "Damn it," but was too caught up in his feelings to berate him for his language. "This must be the stupidest thing you have ever done," he mentally scolded himself when he heard his son wince slightly. He meant to be calm, but when his concern dulled from seeing his son safe and sound, anger started boiling inside at Josh's idiotic actions. He ended up yelling at him, and his son stood there looking like he was waiting for more. Josh took the pause as his cue to start trying to talk his father down from blowing up at it again. "Look, I just thought it was a good idea for catching this guy. I figured he would be faster and more efficient. Granted, it didn't go according to plan," he grumbled, "but nothing bad happened." All his efforts at keeping his calm vanished with Josh's words. "Nothing bad happened?" he bellowed, standing up. "You were kidnapped and mind-controlled!" "Yeah, to playing some stupid racing game. That honestly doesn't seem so bad in my book." "Well, using yourself as bait doesn't seem so bad in your book." He moved around his desk and towards where his son was standing in the middle of the room, his voice raising with each word. "We didn't know where you were. We had no clue where to find you." "Yeah, but you did, and nothing happened," Josh chipped in, raising his voice a bit to be heard over his father shouting. "I thought you were hurt." He could see his son opening his mouth to interrupt again. "You could have died," he hollered. The young Kirkpatrick was a bit wide-eyed, stunned into silence for once in his life while his father stood a few steps from him, looking furious and breathing heavily. He could feel his anger dissipating, regret taking its place. This wasn't how he wanted this to go. He wished to have talked this through calmly. He took in Josh, who seemed fidgety and unsure of what he should do. He remembered the past days filled with worry and fear that he closed the distance between him and his son grabbing him in a hug. The boy was surprised at first, but quickly wrapped his arms around his dad, too. The older man reveled in the feel of his kid in his arms, and his scent, and he put a hand on the back of his neck, running his fingers through the short hair at the base of his head. "I'm sorry," he heard Josh mumble into his shoulder. He tightened his grip on him where he started talking again, this time softly, and undercut a current noticeable in his voice. "I was out of my mind with worry. The scenario is running through my head. You were lucky this time. Real lucky. I mean, really lucky." His son must have heard the tremble in his voice because he apologized again, holding him tighter. "Promise me you won't do something this reckless again." "Okay." The mumbled reply wasn't enough for him. He grabbed him by his shoulders and pushed him back a little so he could look into his eyes. "Promise me, Josh." "Okay, Dad, I promise." He said genuinely. Kirkpatrick embraced him again, whispering a soft, "I love you" into his hair. After receiving a "love you too" as a reply, he finally let go of his child. "So, can I go now?" Josh asked in his usual fashion, once he knew things were good with his dad. "Not yet. You need to call your mom and let her see for herself that you are safe and sound." "You called Mom?" "You didn't have to." "I don't want to hear it." She had the right to know that her son was kidnapped, lost somewhere in the universe, and might have never been found. The principal replied sternly. Shutting his son up twice in the same day proved not to be possible, though. Let's call her. Stop her from worrying and have her chew me out, too," he whined as he went to sit in his father's chair. PK smiled at his son and ruffled his hair. He chuckled a bit at his cry, watching him work his hands through his hair in order to undo the damage. "I'm going to leave you two to talk, okay?" His son nodded and pressed to make the call. "See you later, kid." "Sure." He saw a smile make his way onto Josh's face as he greeted his mother. "Hey there, Punky. How's my boy doing?" He heard Olivia's particular tone of voice that she only saved for her son after he started making his way to the door. "I'm fine, Mom. How are you? You seem a bit..." "Oh, I'm fine. Martin just managed to ruin another one of my experiments. Now, don't change the subject. I want you to tell me what happened and what is this I hear about using yourself as bait." He didn't get to hear his son answer as he closed the door behind him and made his way around Galaxy High's halls. He was glad to have his kid back with him, and he resolved that he would keep him and his team with only minor assignments for at least a month. he really didn't want to go through something like that again. So that's the story. That's actually pretty fast. How fast was the video? Dang, only 10 minutes? Wow. So that's the video. Okay, so I can see where the Martin mystery part of it, because of the mention of Martin. I don't think that's... I mean, I guess if you went through, like, the loosest definition of crossover, this would count. I still think this would be more of a fit for just like Team Galaxy fan fiction. You can, under your interpretation, mention this as a crossover. Plot-wise, it's just basically a guy getting word. I think... So what do I think of the story? This one's kind of a hard one to judge because it's hurt and comfort, and it does that very. It's a simple, but it still does it. But I think the problem is the story is too short. There's not really context over what's happening. This is a hurt comfort story. What I honestly think should have been done was just add a little more context to the situation about showcasing both of them being worried. I think a much better fit is you kind of flip between the father and the mother, showing both of them kind of reacting their own way in their own scenarios. Not to mention you could add in an actual cameo by Martin, but I think that's really the only thing you could have done. Fine, the dad is just basically a very scared dad. Dad's portrayed pretty well, but I don't particularly care about Olivia. Mainly because it's hard to accurately gauge how she feels about it. If you're going to make a story about two parents being worried about the son, it makes a lot of sense to actually showcase what's going through the mom's head as well. It is paced, it's only... it's 1,800 words. It is paced. It's paced for what it is. It's paced decently. For the plot, it's decently. I just really wish we could have gotten some context on what the mom is thinking about. That's really the only thing I would change about the story. Just not just add stuff. Like just add a couple scenes of us going through Olivia's mindset of her reacting to her son. Maybe, have her talk to Martin to try and calm her down. Just something more with the mother. Anything more with the mother. But overall, this is just a milquetoast story. Nothing really done creatively. Nothing funny. But it's not funny. It's nothing creative with the characters or the world. And it's just a simple dad being worried, and for what it does it pretty decently. So if I had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 5, I would give it a 2.5. Simply for the fact we do not really get a feel for what the mom's feeling. We only go through the dad's psyche. And I think it really would make just as much, if not more sense in the context of the story to have us go through the mom's mindset too. That's literally it. That's literally... Oh, and then fix that one grammar error. Deeply... Yeah. Where is it? You find them... Let's see what... And that one... in order to do that, and just get rid of the enemy right here. That's literally it. So that is my reading. This is actually really short. I gotta get back in the game somehow. So this has been Dark Symphony 777 with my reading of UnVeiled Concerned, and cut.